The book 1984 brought forth dangers and insight into the future. George Orwell may have possibly predicted the future of what technology would look like and how the government would use it to spy on its citizens. Most homes nowadays have some form of smart speaker, but how much access should these speakers have on our lives? Also, who might be listening? Good afternoon, my name is Ben Brogan, and today I would like to talk about 1984 and how it relates to modern day technology such as smart speakers. I'm a young American who is at times wary of government spyware techniques. I am also aware that hackers can gain access to your devices, allowing them to pick up on frequently used phrases. These can include bank account information, addresses, username and passwords, etc. Smart speakers can be helpful, but they have more access to our personal lives than we may realize, similarly to what is seen in George Orwell's 1984. Today I'll be talking about the technology used in 1984, then how it relates to new technology being introduced, and finally persuading you all to be careful before buying these possible spyware devices. Let's first talk about 1984 and the technology George Orwell created within the novel. In 1984, Winston has faced the technology used specifically to spy. This includes massive telescreens with cameras able to see the entire room and microphones around the cities to pick up on communication. Winston describes the telescreens as a listening device mandatory for all citizens to have, but most importantly saying that the instrument could be dimmed, but there was no way of shutting it off completely. This idea of having a piece of technology that can never really be shut off is the epitome of government spyware. Although massive telescreens do not exist, there is a piece of technology that is very similar. Smart speakers are a relatively new technology used to keep track of a person's life. Although these devices may seem harmless, there are countless of negative articles continually being written about them. A senior executive responsible for creating components of smart speakers admits that he has his own privacy concerns over the tech. Apple, Amazon, and Google have had many allegations about eavesdropping. Although it technically is not a crime, these devices are infringing upon our Fourth Amendment right of unlawful search and seizure. This is explained in a more detail by Jay Stanley. He says, a lot of very personal information that is inside the home is streaming to third parties and their servers, so it should be protected because it's inside the home. On the other hand, under the third-party doctrine, that information does not receive protection under the Fourth Amendment. Google and Amazon use the phrase wake word to describe how the device responds to vocal cues. The device is always listening for that key word, but until that word is said, the device is in a sleep mode. All the recording software is turned off until the wake word is said. This brings up the question, how can the wake word be heard if the device is in a sleep mode and not listening? The simple answer is that the devices are always listening. Even though these companies try to dance around this question, people who understand this will avoid being around these devices. Now that the history and allegations have been shared, I want you all to think about what having this technology really means. It is important to be wary of what you say around these devices because no one knows who might be listening. These devices listen to all conversations to narrow down what the owner's voice sounds like to better activate it. This is an obvious obstruction and infringement upon a person's privacy. The article, Hey Google, is the government spying on me, says, fortunately for the U.S. government, a lot of us have been wiretapping our own homes for the bargain price of $39.95. Also, comedian Bill Burr was talking on the Conan O'Brien show and said, I don't know why people would voluntarily bug their own homes. At what point do voice assistants become the very thing George Orwell created in his dystopian novel 1984? Researchers have found that smart speakers can be hacked by light, more specifically lasers. According to researchers from Japan and the University of Michigan, laser pointers can be used to inject malicious commands into popular voice assistants such as Alexa, Google, and Siri. These commands are used to access passwords, bank account information, and every bit of personal information inside of a smart speaker. After giving you all this information, I think that all Americans should boycott having these devices within our homes. They have the potential to be massive threats to our lives, security, and privacy. Today I went over the technology presented in the novel 1984 and how it relates to modern-day devices. George Orwell's 1984 presents technology used to spy on the people of Inkstock, which is very similar to the smart speakers taking over American households. Next time you are in an area with a smart device, I hope you think about being careful what you say around it. It may be listening.